All right, so where do we begin? You are currently looking at the user interface for our new ADO Studio Vintage Series, and in this case, you're looking at the most comprehensive deep sample suitcase piano in the history of sampling, dare I say. It's actually over 27,000 samples. We recorded the library through a custom Neve desk, and it's actually 100% preamp signal flow, so there's no digital components in the way we recorded it. We really wanted to stay sort of to the native and original way of recording the suitcase. We also used the Manley Vari compressor, the original 1176. This is actually before it was Universal Audio. The original DBX 160, the Neve 33609 compressor, and we also, and you can see that over here, recorded through two different reverbs. We actually recorded through the TCElectronics 6000 and the Bricasti reverb as well. So all the samples were routed through them, so you also have those as your options. And equally important, just to show off a little more here, we actually have 8 different microphone positions in the library. And those includes Neve Ribbon mics. We also used a double set of Coles. We also added a pair of Neumann KM 184s. And of course the universally resounded 87s. And then on the more exotic side, we also added the Royers R121s. And to wrap it up, we also used the AKG 414s. So there's an enormous amount of stuff going into the library. You have the 5 sort of core microphones here, but you also have 3 additional ones down here, and we'll go into that in great length throughout the video. The library comes with a variety of presets. So in this walkthrough, I'm just going to take you through a variety of the presets. We're going to be talking about, all the different aspects of the library, how deep it actually goes, why we have all these settings here, and what you can do with the library. But talk is always cheap. Let's just get right into it here. Let me just try to play a little bit with it here so you can get a feeling for the warmth of it. One of the unique aspects about the particular setup we had is that I always felt that the bass on the Rhodes is sort of a unique property, and it's sort of been undersampled in the past. So we paid particular attention to really getting that warm, beautiful bass that the Rhodes can have when they're their finest. That was just using one microphone position here. If we take a look, we're using the direct input warm, which is actually one of my favorite mics here, and we'll be going through a lot of the other ones here. We actually also recorded the key noises in the library here. Let me take you to another preset here. This is going to be sort of more on the ambient and a little bit more experimental. As you probably noticed, there was a variety of effects going on here. I was using the sustains, and I was using the DI warm again here. But more importantly, I was also adding some of our chaos effects to it. As you may know, we have both a traditional reverb here using normal convolution shots of some of the magical locations we've been recording at. But we also have our transform here, and we've added a variety of new textual convolutions to it, and that's exactly what you heard here. So some of those sort of more unique delay effects were coming from this guy here. And we obviously also have a stereo delay, but this guy is interesting because it actually creates a textural delay. So you don't just get the delay of the sound itself, but you also get the delay of the texture. And that's sort of what I was doing in that patch. But let's go on here to another patch, which is also on the sort of more emotional and ambient side of things. Isn't that gorgeous? One of the things in the past with the way suitcases were sampled is that a lot of developers tended to want to get the really punchy sound, and we can certainly do that with the library as well. But a part of the real beauty in terms of sampling this beautiful and sensitive instrument is really to cover some of the smaller and more intimate velocity layers. So we really paid a lot of attention. We actually have up to 12 velocity layers just for the sustains here. We also have pedal up, pedal down. We have resonance here as well if you want to add more resonance to the sound. I'll explain a little more about the details down here in a little while. But you can see we also recorded both sustained, staccato, muted, and plucked. So there's a variety of different, we actually opened the whole cabinet, and check out our website, we have a bunch of like studio photos on it as well, but we did a variety of unique modifications to the instrument as well. It really got deep into the deepest organs and veins of this gorgeous instrument. Another thing we also wanted to pay attention to was how tight we wanted the instrument. You know, it can be really funky, and a lot of representations in the sample world of the instrument have been a little bit loose in the past. So we actually have two types of release triggers. In this case here, you can see I've dialed it all the way down to tighten it up. I've also taken the actual release triggers. That would mean when you let go of the note on the keyboard, it gives a little hump kind of sound. I've dialed it down a little bit here as well. And it really just gives a tight sound, very expressive and really elegant on the keys. Let me show you another side of the Suitcase as well here. This is going to be a little more sort of soft representation, but before I get into it, let me just describe a little bit about what's going on down here. First of all, you see our velocity mapper here. If you hold your mouse down, you can see you can sort of drag this guy here, and that's actually how it responds to your keyboard. So if you have a keyboard that's somewhat sensitive and you want to play softly, you definitely don't want to have it more than the average line here, and maybe even down here. They'll give you a much more softer vibe, so you're going to have to play really hard on your keyboard to generate a hard note. And on the opposite side, if you really have a funky, like harder piece and you just want that sound all the time, even playing more softly, you can sort of dial a string up here. So this is actually the velocity curve in terms of how the instrument corresponds with your controller. Over here you got the tone, and you can sort of make the whole piano softer. Let me just demonstrate here first the velocity and then the softness here. So I just played the same chord at the same velocity. As you can see, it corresponded very differently. Let me just do the same thing here with the tone. So you can hear there's a little more brightness and character once we get into it. Let me also demonstrate the tremolo here. This is awesome. It almost gives you a little more of that Wurlitzer kind of effect. And as I mentioned, you can also control the resonance, so how much you want the resonance of the entire instrument. You also got the release trigger here. Let me just show that. So you can hear that a sort of thumpness of it. You can also control the pedal volume here. I also have it like low down here. You have analog noise. A lot of people like to use that. Just have a little bit of natural analog noise from the instrument inside of here, and you can also control click sound and key sounds here as well. And we'll get more into that actually. We have a whole microphone just dedicated to more of the sort of close key sounds here. Let me just demonstrate that actually. Let me just play a little bit with it. So by adding the keys microphone position, you can see we have the DI clean signal down here as our main microphone, but I also added the sound of the keys. That's simply just how your fingers and all the mechanics are tapping on it. And you can add that, and you can add as volume on top of it, so you can sort of figure out how much of the sort of natural noise you want on top of it. We also have some interesting variations of the instrument. Here's another one that has more of a, I almost want to say like a harp-like quality, if you can imagine like a sort of suitcase harp. Isn't that sweet? And that's the beautiful thing about deep sampling. We open the cabinet and we pluck the tines as well. So there's a completely different kind of representation of the instrument. It actually sounds like a completely different instrument. Let me also show you another one here. This is actually muting the tines. So again, opening the cabinet of the Rhodes and then gently muting the tines and then recording them. And let me just play that again, but this time around I'll take the microphones here and I'll sort of go through a couple of different ones so you can get a feeling for how they sound. So I got the volume up in this guy here. You know, let me just turn the volume up on all of them actually, and then we'll use the solo and mute feature. And that's the beauty. You can really, I mean, that's what happens when you use the best microphones, but we're very picky about picking the right array. And you can see that for a lot of our other vintage series as well. Picking the right microphones for the right instrument, and particular bringing out such different characters. And again, you can also combine these, of course. You don't just have to play them standalone. You can combine any microphone you want to whatever degree you want. And that's just one of the beautiful things about this library in terms of dialing in that precise sound. And you can hear, like, it's not just in the subtleties. I mean, they really have a distinct character difference as well. Let me show you another patch here, and just to demonstrate how sensitive the library is when it comes to, I think it's kind of like hypersensitive velocity, but what really happens when you record very delicate velocities and all the way up and everything in between. It's just incredibly expressive on your keyboard. And again, you can use the velocity mapper here to dial it even further in, but just check it out, like how nimble and playable it is. This was actually using a combination of US amplifiers and older vintage mix as well. Let me go here to another one here that's also on the sort of very sensitive and sort of hyper expressive side. You can see the velocity curve here is dialed up a little bit, so it's going to be a little more strong and intense in its sound. Isn't that cool? You can just hear how the notes start burning on higher velocities and then back to the super soft stuff. And particularly that you have that smooth transition between the layers. It's not like you feel any of those jumps that we used to feel with samples before. There's so much depth in the sampling here. We sort of went all the way, baby. I mean, to me, that bass is almost on par with like a really fat synth bass or an upright or something. And that's really a testament to the engineering process that even goes beyond my mind in terms of how the guys figured out to really capture the basses and enhance the bass frequencies to bring out that beautiful character in the instrument. And I think it's sometimes something with engineering that we don't talk about so much in sampling because it's sort of its own world, but how much engineering can bring forth in the samples if it's done correctly with the best consoles, the best analog gear, the best vintage mics, the best preamps, the best instruments, the best players, and overall just great studio conditions. And of course, there's also the editing and programming part to it. Let me show you an example of that actually. Because we have the tremolo effect, you can almost create sort of a Leslie type of sound to it. And of course, you can control the tremolo rate in great length. We actually also have a rate down here if you want to go even deeper on it. Isn't that sweet? And this was using our mixed microphone position here. So we actually took all the different mics and made sort of our own super version of the instrument by combining all of them and including the DIs down here as well. Next up, let's just take an additional little look here at the mechanical noises. It's not just that we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have these unique key noises here that are really the recordings of how your fingers touch the keyboard and how it reacts on a more mechanical side. But we actually did it per articulation as well. So it's not just a generic set of sounds, they're actually per articulation here. Let me just demonstrate that quickly here by playing with the muted guys here, and then I'll do the same with the staccato so you can hear the difference. So the library contains a variety of presets. Here is an example of a more funky one where we have, we call these sort of the talk patches. But if you use your mod wheel, you're actually gonna, let me just highlight the patch here. You can really make the keyboard talk more, really great for that more funky kind of sound. But perhaps the favorite aspect of the library that I love the most is the fact that the library is incredibly playable, sweet, and nimble. It just reacts exactly to how my fingers want to play. You feel that tightness. You can hear all the little mechanical signs from the releases here, the key noises, everything that's going on. And there's just something inherently beautiful about that, because we're getting closer, if not completely close, to mimicking what the real instrument actually sounds like and how it behaves and feels right on the keys. And as you probably noticed and heard as well, if you look at the velocity curve, you can see it's a little on the softer side here. So even if I played a little harder here, it was still in the sort of realm of mezzo piano to mezzo forte. It just gives a nice kind of softer sound, and yet with that tightness and expressiveness to it. Let's go a little bit into the more sort of polar opposite aspect of the instrument here. This is a little more funky patch, and you can see the velocity curve again dragged up here, and the tone all the way to the right here. So it's a little more sharp sounding, yet it has that warmth and presence as well. Isn't that wicked? You can just hear that burn, dang, dang. And again here, the second you dial this guy here, you're gonna get a very different character on the instrument. So when you compose, just dial in terms of your composition, how you want the keys to feel. It's just a single click here with your mouse, and essentially you have the instrument exactly how you want it to correspond with your key controller. Just trust me on this. It's hard to describe actually in words, but once you get a feeling for it, we actually have in all our new vintage libraries. We also started doing it in our piano library as well. You have the same feature. It's just awesome for really quickly dialing in the right feel on the keyboard with a single click. Let's also take a look here at one of the more experimental patches. In this case here, we're using our staccato. I sort of added a bunch of different delays to it here, both our delay and our convolution delays here, and you're going to hear this sort of otherworldly, very complicated textural atmosphere of sounds. Here's another example of one of those talking patches, some more on the funky side. I almost say like it has a tiny bit of a sort of clarinet feel to it. Just having some fun. Let me play another one here. To me, this is sort of a very warm, almost electric piano / Rhodes kind of sound. We're back in the 80s, but check out the warmth of this particular patch here. Also using the plucked articulation, but there's just a beautiful, really unique character to it. And as I mentioned earlier on as well in the video, my preference, we have so much to choose from, it's almost like too much at times, but my preference is the DI warm. That's the one I like the most, and you can really hear all the tines and the basses and the higher character of the instrument come fully through as well. Just check out the sort of just softness and very precise, warm, soothing character of the instrument, and how every note just stands apart in a very clear way. And to me, that is what sampling is about. It doesn't have to be crazy 240-piece orchestras or 200-person choirs, which we've done in great lengths, but it's also just coming down to actually encapsulating the true nature and soul of the instrument as well. So hopefully you can hear that as well. Let me show another patch here, which also has that very clear presence to it. And let's wrap the video up here by taking a close look at our two different reverbs. Again, we did the TC6000 and the Bricasti, two of the most world-renowned reverbs in the world. And we sampled everything through them, so you actually have both options. And you can control both the pan, the stereo spread, and the volume of it as well. So let me just try to play a little bit with the TC here, and then I'll switch to the Bricasti so you can hear the different character of the two guys here. And as always, you can always right-click on any of these guys and assign any kind of controller you want to them. So in this case, I've assigned my MIDI controller to control the volume down here. So I'll sort of be dialing it in, the reverb, as we go. And let me just do the same thing here for the Bricasti. And that, my friend, was the journey through our Studio Vintage Series Suitcase Piano. As I mentioned in the beginning, we really take pride in our deep sampling. This is the most comprehensive sample Rhodes ever done. And we have a variety of other vintage keyboards coming out. You can select whatever you want. You don't have to get it all in one big pack. And there's no way we could ever do this in one big pack, because I think this instrument in itself is over 27,000 samples. And all the other guys are of equal size, if not more. So we really want to follow this concept all the way to the door. You have 10 different microphone positions. It's all recorded through the best freaking gear in the world. We not only record the instrument in its normal fashion, we also do it experimental. We have staccato here with round robin. We got the muted tines, the plucked. We got 2 world-class reverbs built in, the best vintage mics in the world, and so forth and so forth. So anyway, this was Trolls from ADO signing out. I hope you enjoyed the video.